Carolina, in April '55, the General Assembly established a continuing advisory committee on education under the chairmanship of Senator Thomas Pearsall, P-E-A-R-S-A-L-L, and enacted a pupil assignment law transferring all authority for the enrollment, assignment, and the transfer of pupils to the local level. That was a big state adoption there.
Okay. Thank you.
Local school boards. The new law did not mention the word race. However, it suggested that local boards assign pupils on the basis of best interest of the child involved and orderly and efficient administration of the schools and the health and safety and general welfare of the pupils. The law included a provision permitting requests for reassignment and appeals by individual applicants. Those transfers might have been denied, you see. But that was April 5th, 1956, that the Pearsall Plan was approved by our General Assembly. But the North Carolina policy then became freedom of choice. The Pearsall Plan, as a tuition granting local options school closing plan, came to be known and was debated extensively before being voted on in the special state election, and most political leaders endorsed the proposal. Oh, here in 1972, the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights reported that the pace of desegregation had accelerated during the late 60s. At the opening of school in 1970, a large number of school districts were desegregated, both under court order and voluntarily. In 70-71 school year, nationwide, the number of black students in majority white school was 33%, an increase of 10% from preceding year, 69. Major changes in any long-established institutions such as public education nearly always resulted from outside pressure rather than from internal developments. That was true of racial desegregation in the public schools. The U.S. Commission report stated, integration of some school systems was accompanied by great public outcry. Stories were heard of the fights and buses and on buses in schools, of upset parents, disrupted schools, curtailed learning, of other damage, reported schools, curtail learning, and so forth and so on. Most parents did not block school entrances. Most teachers did not resign in droves, and few students engaged in disorders. In other words, they had predicted that there would be disruption if we integrated schools, which didn't happen. We didn't have too many George Wallaces. Now, in 1966, the Coleman Report, and if you're not familiar with the Coleman Report, you might want to look on your computer. It'll probably jump out, but in '66, the Coleman Report showed that the great majority of American children attend schools that are largely segregated, and that was as late as 1966. The number of black students attending schools with whites in the South had increased. The survey found that American public education remained largely unequal in most regions of the country. Coleman noted that large metropolitan areas in the North and South were moving towards resegregation despite attempts by school boards and school officials to reverse the trend. The emphasis on freedom of choice plans tended to lead to token enrollment. In other words, it didn't get the job done. In previously all white schools. Where school officials had proceeded to desegregate the schools on a positive note, there was little trouble. In other words, if the leadership had the right attitude, people generally would accept it.
And the
but where the school board to drag their feet. The community seemed to drag their feet. So
Right.
many communities had continued to search for ways to achieve greater racial balance while retaining neighborhood schools. Busings, pairing, redistricting, consolidation, and many other strategies have been tried. Many failed, others achieved at least partial success. I think probably busing was a main tool. People would accept a ride to the particular school
Right.
or put them on that bus.
Was busing used to
Desegregate Charlotte.
I know it was
The
the
Swamps.
yes, I'm in there, but was it used in Cabarrus
Quebec.
County?
That was the unique thing about this, and you can make note of it. We were busing, and all we had to do is stop busing. Let them go to school in Mount Pleasant. Let them go to school out of Odell.
So in Cabarrus County, busing was used in
They
order
used-
to segregate.
Yep.
So when they
Called them the
stopped
Concord
busing,
schools. So when we integrated the schools, ultimately, not by freedom of choice, but geographic districting, then it was a matter of letting them go back to school where they lived. It was a kind of a reversal of what was being done everywhere else. It made it easier. Actually, Cabarrus didn't have too many blacks, so it wasn't that big a deal. But it was in that we had to reassign the teachers and stuff like that. That was one of my first jobs as assistant superintendent, to determine which teachers were going to go to which schools and so forth. And so
I was going to
from
ask.
the black Shankletown.
Right. I was going to ask you about that eventually, about
Yeah.
the teacher integration and moving teachers around. How that
We worked with the
worked out.
principals and did observations and studies and decided where these teachers would fit best and all that. We spent a year on that.
was there?
One or two demonstrations, a group of students at Northwest decided they wanted to demonstrate. They walked out of class, but that was based mainly on who was going to be homecoming queen, instead of, you know, real black white issue.